Hello, everybody. My name's James, and welcome to not Clash of the Correspondents, but something very similar. Welcome to a podcast about the EFL's top two. I'm delighted to be joined by our correspondents representing the top two currently in the Championship, our Burnley correspondent, Jack Toner. How are you, Jack?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Glad to be back.
Good man. Glad to have you back. And our Sheffield United correspondent, Ben Thompson. How are you, Tommo?
Good. Also glad to be back.
Jack, let's start with you, mate. Since you went down as the world's most boring football club, according to everybody outside of Burnley, you decided to go a bit out your comfort zone with Vincent Kompany, and you're currently storming the Championship. Get us up to speed, if you can, with what's changed at Burnley.
Yeah, well, what hasn't? It's been a whirlwind of a 6 months. I was apprehensive to say the least. I thought going down and knowing that the contract situation of a lot of our established players, many of you will have known, obviously Tarkowski was out of contract, and me, and then adding the likes of losing Cornet, Dwight McNeil, it was thinking, this is going to be rough. I was expecting mid-table at Championship to be sort of a good position to be in. Just having if we could steady the finances as well. So having had to do what we've done and gone in a completely different direction, you'll know that in the past I've been quite vocal about not being too friendly with our new American owners, but take my hats off to them. It was no one wants to get relegated, but it's been a step in the right direction, really. You all know the style of football we played in the Premier League. It was, tried and tested, and then it became tired and tested. It went from we had many good years under Dyche, and I don't want to let anything I say today sort of taint that. I think in a way we've been very blessed with managers, and that blessing's continued with Kompany. So yeah, hats off to the owners for allowing us to take that step in a new direction. But we've gone from, I think the oldest signing we've made this year was 26. There's been 16 additions, which I don't mean how many years would you have to span under the Dyche era to have a cumulative total of 16. Think one year we signed Dale Stevens and Will Norris, and they were the only two. So all change, and I take back everything I said about people having to go at us for time wasting, because now it is so fucking annoying.
Yeah, as if you come back up, you're not going to be doing it again next season,
True.
mate.
True.
Or has the style of football changed that much?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think my favourite game this season was Huddersfield away, which was the first game. I just remember that it was with my parents and another friend of ours, and we just kept looking around at each other going, like, what on earth?
Didn't you have
What has
about
happened?
75% of the ball?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And it was just something that we've not been used to. And I've never been a big advocate for having to play pretty football. I think the reason why we've been so lucky in the past is under Dyche, we've always managed to have an identity and a way of winning a football match. My worries under Kompany were that we'd have this new style of play, and we'd be, pushovers, and we it wouldn't always marry up with the result, which we've had a few this season where draws could have been wins, and obviously the Sheffield United away game was the only other real anomaly. But other than that, we've had an identity, and we've stuck to it, and we've absolutely bossed it.
Nice. And Tommo, the Blades, how you doing, mate? What's been happening since you went down 18 months ago? Some people might be surprised to hear that Paul Heckingbottom, if they've not been keeping up, is the Blades manager who was obviously in charge when you went down. How's it going?
It's good. Obviously, last season we started really slow. Heckingbottom came in, and we went in like house on fire for the second half of the season, made the playoffs, and barely lost to Forest in the playoffs, which could have gone either way. Awesome penalties. And then this season started like a house on fire, had a little bump in the middle, and then house on fire again. So, we're just winning games and, grinding results out. We've had tons of injuries and still kept winning. So, it's been
So
good.
is it that? Are you not, in terms of the style of football, has it changed from what we saw from Sheffield United in the Premier League? Because obviously Jack's team's had quite a radical change in a very short period. Are you stylistically similar to what you were then?
Yeah, Heckingbottom's gone back to the Wilder formation with overlapping centre back. So we're playing basically the same formation, same tactics. Like I said, his team is built around that, and it's pretty much the same. To be honest, it's very similar to the Wilder team. A bit more talented, I would say. A bit more individual talent than the Wilder team, but it's very similar.
So, I mean, we talked about tried and tested. Jack said tired and tested. Will that, if you come back up, is that not just going to look tired and tired again?
I don't know. It's just so different to everybody else plays, right? It gets some getting used to, which we saw when we went up in the Premier League the first season. So, towards the back end of the season after COVID, some teams kind of figured it out, but, it worked. So, I think it's quite exciting. It's quite exciting when you see your right centre back, famous player forward, a lot of the time, which is now Anel Amaodzic, which is the new Chris Basham. And like I said, we talked briefly before we started the pod, but playing with three centre backs, not many teams do it. So trying to find replacements is very difficult to try and find overlapping centre backs. But I don't know where we've got Anel from, but he is basically a better version of Basham.
Because bought from Malmo, wasn't he? I want to say, I think.
Yeah, 3 million. Yeah,
and he's been knocking about successfully in a number of Gaffer teams this season, including my own. Actually, he's become a bit of a staple of it. How many players have you got from Manchester City at the moment, Tommo?
We've got two. We've got Tommy Doyle and McAtee.
And Jack, you've had a few from City as well, right?
Yeah, one on loan, which is Howard Bellis, and we'd signed CJ Egan-Riley, who's just a fringe player really at the minute, but one for the future, I think.
And the keeper come from City, right?
Oh yes, Cuffs, yeah, Muric. He's permanent as well.
Is that an influence, gents? That you've taken from the most successful team in the Premier League? Is that relevant, Jack?
I mean, it obviously helps, doesn't it? I mean, they're quite obviously skilled, as you say, the best team in definitely England, if not the world. I mean, Muric the goalkeeper has been such a big part of how we play. I think there's been something like 8 goals that we've scored direct from his involvement, where you compare that to obviously Nick Pope's distribution, and let that take nothing away from Nick Pope. It's obviously a completely different style.
I was going to say, when you mean direct involvement, you don't actually mean direct, do you?
Yeah. But I mean, started from him. Sorry, yeah. But I mean, obviously Nick Pope was the other way, where he would literally keep you in game single-handedly. Muric is a decent keeper, a decent shot stopper, but he's just unbelievable with his feet. So most attacks start through him, and it's like having a third centre half really. So when teams try and come and suffocate us and think, because we're so good at playing out from the back and passing between our two central defenders, teams come and try and suffocate us there and start it, from where it begins, and we just go back to the keeper, and they just can't. You can't mark, you can't mark all 11 players on the pitch. So, it's been a massive. Do
you know what, Jack? I've been speaking to you for a few years. It almost feels mad listening to you say all that.
Yeah.
About splitting the centre backs and playing out with the keeper as almost like a third centre back and stuff. How have the fans adapted, or has it been quite easy because there's winning football now?
Yeah, I think it helps. It helps when the results come, and I mean, don't get me wrong. At the start of the season, we weren't struggling, but you could see that we were still a work in progress. And there was the odd game where the keepers passed it straight to him, and it's they just go and slot it in the bottom corner. But yeah, I think most fans of people want excitement, and Kompany said that from day one. He said, for the first part, I want people to be excited, and obviously we want to be successful as well. A few of the old guys, there's a few groans every time the keeper gets it because it's not what they're used to.
Knock it long.
Yeah, just get rid of it. But yeah, I mean, obviously when the results come, and as they have been doing, and performances to go with it, it makes you wonder, how did we watch the previous stuff for so long? But again, take nothing away from Dyche. We've had many good years under him. I argue that aside from the top clubs, we're probably one of the luckiest clubs in England in sort of the past 10 years for getting to Europe under Dyche, and there's so many seasons in the Premier League, having such a small budget and such a relatively small fan base, really.
Yeah, the adjustment's a bit mad actually, and I think if people haven't seen you this year, are going to be surprised if you come up next year.
If we go up, I kind of hope people haven't seen us, because they're going to flick the TV on and go, "Oh, here's Burnley again," and then they'll be like,
"It's going to take some real adjustment when you go to White Hart Lane next year and Burnley have got 65% of the ball and dominate. It's going to scare the life out of people, I think."
Yeah.
Tommo, you mentioned off camera before we'd started that there might be a potential takeover happening at Bramall Lane. Talk to us about that a bit if you can, mate.
So there's not been too much information, but apparently the Prince has come out and said that he's accepted a bid, and that we'll know in a few weeks. No, there's all sorts of rumours, but there's nothing concrete from anyone in the press who it's going to be. So, but yeah, so it looks like he's sold the club. I mean, it's a good time to buy. If you buy it, I think it's a great time to buy Sheffield United. I think they're a very attractive club right now.
So we don't even know, like, regionally where this money's coming from, if it's Asia or America or.
We've heard all the rumours. We've heard Australia, we've heard Asia, we've heard America. We don't know, which is interesting. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
But you think the sale of the football club is essentially in process?
I think it's going to happen, it sounds, by end of January.
Okay. And for you, Jack, we were pretty worried about ALK. I think we can both openly say that there was serious concerns that they were using your football club as an investment vehicle. But you've already said on this pod that what they've done has been very impressive, actually. Can you just elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I think, Kompany came in and he said we've not been blessed with, we've not had many, sellable assets. So when we lost Tarkowski for free, Ben Mee for free, Nick Pope only went for 10 million because of his contract situation. You start off saying there, and that's your entire defence really just gone. I think it was something stupid like 11 departures. We've recouped 68 million for that, and we've paid off, I think it was 42 million pounds worth of the debt, which is I think nearly half. So to look at that and still be successful is just unbelievable. My worry is if we were to go down, we'd put all our eggs in one basket, so going for your Eric Peters and your Ashley Barnes and people that have been there and have been so successful for us. I just worried that if that didn't work, there'd be no plan B. Whereas the players we've brought in now, even if things were to go south, we'd get double our money on, at least a handful of them with how well they've been playing. I mean, Zaroury's come in from Belgium, World Cup semi-finalist for Morocco. He didn't get much game time, but the lad's only 21, 22. Looks an unreal talent for us. It's just the method of going for these players that Kompany's got for couple of £1 million or whatever. We'll see that money again because if we look at Brentford's model, the way I see it now, it needs to be if someone offers us a figure that we're happy to accept, I'll say thank you very much and see you later, because we held on to Tarkowski for far too long and we got nothing for him. We held on to Nick Pope, and got £10 million for him, and that's just not good business at all. So yeah, I mean, I'll hold my hands up with the board, and obviously it helps that we're being so successful. But then, isn't that what football is all about? It's you've got to get that success. They've gone with a massive gamble with companies, relatively unproven. He's doing an excellent job. I mean, in a way, I think he is quite unique. And there's not many jobs in football you could walk into and a chairman would say to you, okay, you can have 16 new players and play the style of play that you want to play. So as much as he's done a good job, I think it's gone hand in hand with him having the tools to do that. I look at Blackburn and they've got, John Dahl Thompson, and he's just not got the players to play out from the back because they're just not used to it and they're really struggling to do that. Whereas, Charlie Taylor sits on our bench now, whereas he was one of our best Premier League players, and that's just mad.
I managed to see you managed to get the local rivalry dig in there.
Yeah.
You're 14 points clear of them. They're in 13th with this bizarre record, having lost 12, but haven't drawn a game all season. They have one more than they've drawn. They're currently third. 14 points behind you. 20 games to go. Have you got any doubt you're coming back up?
As a fan, yes. As a neutral, I'd be looking at that and saying, there'd be absolutely no chance we could throw that up. You've got to be confident. We just look too consistent, and the way we'd sit here on Clash of the Correspondents in times gone by and be like, oh, who's playing with Wood? Is it Barnes or is it Rodriguez? And now we've got a front line who we can pretty much rotate all four of them and still look fresh. It's a much better model to have and watch as a fan because it's just so exciting. We've got strength in depth. We've had a couple of players that have been out injured in Cherwin-Off and Twine that we've not really seen. So yeah, I don't worry. There's for me, there isn't one part of the system now that you think if that player gets injured, we'd really, really struggle. I think the centre halves and the keeper are massive, but we've got depth everywhere else on the pitch to really be that much of a worry. And as you said, 14 points clear of third place with 20 games to go. You can almost have a month off and still be up there. So,
I mean, I wouldn't advise that, by the way.
yeah,
Because once you start losing games in this league, it can quickly turn. I think of Steve McLaren's Derby. I know we went as far ahead of yourselves, but were top at this sort of stage of the season and finished 7th, didn't they?
Yeah.
So no one's suggesting that's going to happen to yourselves, but you can quickly get in a rut in this league. Tommo, are they the best team in this league, in your opinion, Burnley, or is it yourselves?
I think it's just Burnley, but I think it's closer than what people think. I think if you look at the XG, they're outperforming their XG by 17 goals or so, which is crazy. Even Fulham last year only did it by 9, and they had the best striker you've ever seen in the Championship, right? Mitrovic. So I think Burnley will come down a little bit. We've had injuries. We've had 14 injuries for the first half of the season. Still got injuries now. Still got the best team out since the start of the season. I mean, Burnley's still not back yet. It's going back in 2 weeks when we get back. And obviously, when we played Burnley, we kind of bullied them in the second half. I don't know. I've not watched too many Burnley games, Jack, but we basically just put ball in the box every single time, and it caused all sorts of problems. I don't know if anyone else has tried to do that against you guys this season, but that seems to be the remedy.
People throwing balls in the box against Burnley is causing them problems. Is that what I'm hearing here? Yeah.
Yeah, it was true. I mean, we had a lot of big players, and Muric, he kind of struggled in that game with the corners and the throw-ins and stuff. But
massively.
Yeah, so I don't know, but Burnley's a very, very good team. I mean, they've been a Premiership team for 6 years. I mean, the squad is very deep, and I think when you look at the two squads we have, it's light years above everybody else.
Yeah.
And the league's poor, in my opinion, but apart from us two.
I come back onto that. That's really interesting. But you've raised a really good point about the XG, because yours is the 6th best in the league, Jack, according to FB Refs data, which I'm told is probably what we should be using. Yours is the best, Tommo. You've got the best XG in the league, but Middlesbrough, West Brom, Norwich, and Swansea all have a better XG than yourselves, Jack. So maybe you're not as good as we think you are, or is that wrong? Or do people in Burnley just don't care about XG, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I think me. I don't pay all that much attention to it, and especially haven't in the years gone by, because it was a different style back then. But yeah, I think the way it is, it does feel like we really suffocate teams. I don't feel like we always really have to go and have that many chances, because we just dominate so much in possession. But we've scored 52 goals this season, so yeah. Some of them might not be as expected, but it all counts when you put the ball on the back of the net. So, yeah, and I think that the thing as well this season is we've been sharing the goals out. You do sort of feel like there's been games where we've not really got out of, sort of second, third gear. If we needed to really pile the pressure on, then we could have done. But yeah, I mean, goals definitely are flowing. That's for sure.
No. And obviously, looking at the raw data, like, you're the 2 best teams defensively, you're the 2 best teams offensively. And actually, when you just look at goal difference, you're on plus 27, Jack. You're on plus 21, Tommo. Sunderland are next best, plus 9. And it's just just looking at a raw league table, and you think, well, miles clear. I think goal difference is normally quite a good indicator of what a final league table may well look like. And you look at that and just think the 2 of you are going to be well clear. But that must be encouraging for you, Tommo, to see actually XG wise, you're the best.
Yeah. XG we're the best, and also goals conceded directly from errors were the worst in the league this year.
You are.
We're the worst in the league.
You'll get fucked next year, mate.
Yeah. Well, that's down to injuries, though, right? So I think we've had like 7 or 8 players play left centre back and left wing back. Just every week is somebody else, and that's where it's coming from. Jack Robinson's made a few mistakes. Made a big mistake against Burnley to give them the second goal. And then obviously Egan made a big mistake on Monday night. If you watch that game, basically passed it straight to them and it hit and went in for a goal. So it's been like that a few times. Just really floppy mistakes, individual mistakes. But still, to me, that's going to get, as the team gets back and everyone seems to be getting fit now, and you get more consistency, I think that kind of goes away.
So you said, Tommo, the league you think's not great quality. Can you elaborate on that?
I've not been looking at Blackburn at all because I think their outlier is just crazy. So I'm not worried about Blackburn in one bit. So I've been looking at Watford and Norwich as the two teams behind, and I watched them at the weekend, and they both just look in turmoil to me. I don't. Watford's got I think 14 injuries. Norwich are just got a new manager. They look a mess. Um, so I've been looking at them. I've been now kind of watching Middlesbrough as well a little bit more. And I saw they just signed Chris Archer today, which I know the striker has been lacking. So I think Middlesbrough's the one I'm going to be watching the most now moving forward.
Theirs is the best expected goal difference in the league is Middlesbrough, who I think their data was really good even when they were in the bottom three. It was like their data suggested they should be in the top six and they were in the bottom three. And they've been on a really good run under Michael Carrick now as well. Would you give them a shot of catching you then?
I mean, I'm just looking at it. So it's 12 points plus the goal difference, right? So which is 21 versus 8. So I'm looking 13 points. That's a lot of points to make up in 20 games, especially with how consistent we've been. Even when we don't play well, we grind out results. We win, or we draw on midweek. We play terrible on Monday. So I think 10 wins is going to be, if we get 10 wins out of 20, a couple of draws, that means that they're going to have to win 14, 15 games, which is, it's tough. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I saw there was a supercomputer that did the percentage, and they had Burnley at 96% for automatic promotion and Sheffield United at 79%. So I think that kind of indicates to me where it's at. I just think we're going to have to collapse, and they're going to have to win a lot of games.
I hope it's not the same supercomputer that predicted us to stay up last season.
Probably is.
Jack, at Sheffield United, do you see them as, other than yourselves, the best team in this league?
Yeah, I think so. Interesting when you was asking Tommo then about does he see us as being the best team in the league. I mean, I'm not going to go and sit here and say we're better than them when they stuffed us 4-2 at their place. I think it's been tight, and they've had their injuries as well, probably a lot more so than we have. It's just night and day between us two and the rest, really. I mean, Blackburn came to us, and I was worried because obviously it's local derby. You think have we got that enough resilience to deal with the aggression and the balls in the box? Nothing at all like that. Middlesbrough came to us as well. There was just felt like there was just no opposition there. We've just been too strong for both of them. So, like you said, there may be a couple of games where we go on a bit of a tricky patch and a rough spell, but at the minute, it really does feel like we are just both too good for this league. And I don't say that big-headedly or say it lightly. It just really just feels now at the minute.
We'll clip it if you're wrong at the end of April, mate. Someone will anyway. If I said to you, look, you were going to fall apart and someone else was going to go up with Sheffield United, Jack, who would you say then?
I'd struggle. I really would. I think with the nature of the way this league is, where it can be, Saturday, Tuesday, there can be quite a few games. It all just depends who can have that run, really, and the way the playoffs and the teams in between are. I think I think Blackburn are closer to relegation than they are to us probably. It's absolutely mad with the way the table spread. I think anyone could really make a case for it. Depends who's got the resilience to go through the form. I wouldn't write Middlesbrough off. Whether Norwich have got enough to get up there and thereabouts, but I think that really for me would be quite interesting to watch is the push for the playoffs, because at the moment it seems like first and second space are pretty much tied up.
What about West Brom? Been on a decent run since Carlos Corberán went in there.
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen much of them since Bruce left, and it was at the time when we played them, they actually gave us a really good game, and I think it was probably one of the best performances they've had, especially this season under Bruce. Yeah, I mean, they've got a decent squad, haven't they? And yeah, I wouldn't say that they couldn't get up there and do it. I really don't see Blackburn finishing in third. They'll be lucky to still be there and thereabouts with how they've been performing, really, in my opinion.
They are, just for the record, they are 14 points behind you, Jack. They are 14 points clear of Blackpool, who are 22nd.
Yeah.
So the difference between first and 22nd for Blackburn in third is the same.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable. And when you look at the teams beneath the two of you. So you've won 14 more than you've lost, Jack. Tommo, you've won 10 more than you've lost. Blackburn have won 2 more than they've lost. Watford have won 3 more. Middlesbrough 2 more. Millwall 3 more. Luton 4 more. So Luton, after the two of you, are the team that's got the biggest difference between winning and losing games. So basically, it feels like that actually even points for playoffs could be lower this year than normal, just because of how competitive the league is. So I guess that depends on how you view it, doesn't it, Tommo? Like you're saying, quality might be a problem. Perhaps the quality of the whole league is leveling out a bit, though, which might be helping a bit, no?
Yeah. I think it is definitely leveling out a little bit. Like I said, it's very congested, like you said, from third down to the relegation zone. Like I said, we're just two outliers in the league, and I want Burnley to keep winning, keep beating those teams. To be honest, like some United fans, Burnley's won again. I'm happy because I want them to beat the teams below us, and I presume for Burnley fans should be wanting us to win as well because in the Championship, obviously it's nice to win the title, but it's just top two. That's all that matters. All right. So I'll happily take second now.
Is that right? Couldn't care less, first, second? I mean, I'm sure you'd probably both just settle for second now, don't get me wrong. But if the results continue, you're probably only going to pull further and further ahead. So then surely it's going to be a shootout to try and win the league. It's got to be, isn't it?
I want to win it. You've got to want to win it.
Yeah, I want to win it, but second's a nice consolation prize is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, especially when you've got the Premier League.
Yeah,
they're waiting for you. So
wouldn't you rather, Tommo? Wouldn't you just rather drop into the playoffs and come up that way now?
Hell no, we'll never. No playoffs. You can write us off if we get in the playoffs. If we fall out and get the playoffs, we won't go up.
What players, Tommo, should people be aware of within the Sheffield United squad? Perhaps they'll be unfamiliar with. The name many of us have had an eye on this year is Ilman and Dye.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about him and perhaps other players in the squad people might be less familiar with?
So Ilman and Dye, best player in the league. I might be a little biased there, but he's incredible. I mean, he's got 9 goals, 7 assists. If you watch us play, he just creates something every game. He turns people. He's just unbelievable to watch. I honestly think he's the best Sheffield United player I've ever seen in my life. That's how highly I rate him. And we were very, very lucky last year to have Gibbs White in this team, and he was incredible last year in the Championship. And better than he is. Way better than he is.
Better than Lord Lundstrom?
Better than Lord Lundstrom, for sure. And I think he's definitely going to be playing for a top 6 Premier League club in the next 2 years, 3 years tops. I'm hoping we go up so we can, he's out of contract. He's got a year and a half left on his contract. So I'm hoping we can re-sign him to a 3-4 year deal. Maybe we go up, he stays 1 year, but then we're probably going to sell him for, I think, 40 million plus for Ndai, similar to what Gibbs White went for.
James McAtee's not your player. Is a loan.
He's
right?
not. He's the Man City, yeah. And so we had him and Doyle, Tommy Doyle as well. So Tommy Doyle was playing the first half of the season. He got injured. He was playing really well. Good player, good box-to-box midfielder. McAtee really struggled. He's very small. He looks like he's 15 if you ever see.
He's a young-looking boy, yeah.
And he struggled the first game. He played against Luton. He took him off at half-time. He just got bullied. And I think it was a very wake-up call for him in this league. But since we've come back, he's been probably our next best player for Ndai. He's just come into his own. He's a super player. I don't know if you saw his goal the week against Blackpool when he ran the full length of the pitch, but he's a special player.
I mean, a challenge would have been handy, I must say, on that particular goal. But...
yeah.
Son against Burnley-esque.
Yeah.
James McAtee is not winning the Puskas Award for that goal, mate. I am not having it at all. You've got a lad on loan from Brighton, Tommo, who I'm not familiar with, but youngster at Brighton or player on loan from Brighton makes me want to go, who's this? Reda Kadra, a German player. What can you tell us about him?
So Kadra, he looked very good the first couple of games when he came on. He's strong, he's fast, he's quick, he's attacking, but he can't even get in the squad now. So he's not been in the squad the last few weeks, even with the injuries. So I think it's very likely that he goes back in January and we get a striker on loan instead from somebody else.
Okay.
Very talented. It just doesn't fit, I think, the team and the formation we have.
And not to paint everything as good news, Ryan Brewster, mate. Where we at? What's the latest with England's Golden Boy World Cup under-19 winner, top scorer in that tournament? 1 goal scored for you this season. What's happened?
It's so frustrating. Like he just started to get fit and hit some form mid-season. He pulled his hamstring, tears his hamstring, so he's out. I don't know when he's coming back. I don't know if he's back this season. I think they're expecting him back maybe in March time. But it's a combination of just bad luck, the injuries, and I think a lot of it's in his head. You know, I think he might need to move on, to be honest, just to kind of get a fresh start somewhere. Unfortunately, it's a little frustrating. I hope he gets back and plays. We really needed him because at the moment we're playing Billy Sharp every week. 37 years old up front.
He's still scoring, to be fair, mate.
He is. He's still scoring, creating chances, but we're a little light on strikers, so I definitely think we need a striker in January.
It will be a major priority if you come up, mate. Major priority. Jack, who should people be watching out from your team if they want to tune in for the rest of this season?
I mean, there's a real plethora of them at the minute. We've got a Brazilian right back, and that's not a joke. He actually is not just got Brazilian grandparents or something. Vitinho, he's out injured at the moment, but he's again big part of our system. Howard Bellis in defence has just been an absolute rock on loan from City. Also got Bayer on loan from somewhere in Germany. Can't even remember. He's been superb as well. The way he walks out with the ball, really, really good. Decision making's been excellent as well. Middle and midfield, Josh Cullen from your boy Sudge's West Ham. Well, came from Anderlecht. Again, really, really good reader of a ball. Him and Jack Cork in the middle were just, next level, just the way we see games out and whatnot. And then up front, Taylor on loan from Southampton, who we've seen a little bit in the Premier League. I like him. He's lightning quick. He's good, I think, reactionary to stuff. I think when he has too much time to think about it, he cocks it up. But again, a really young player, so he's only going to get better. Zarori, who I mentioned before, who again is good all-round attacker. And then we've got Manuel Benson on the wing as well. He's extremely tricky, just invites and loves to take defenders on. Again, can't believe I'm talking about players like this, but it's just really, really exciting to watch.
It's good to hear. Ian Matson, is that loan or permanent?
Yes, loan.
From Chelsea.
I'd like to think he'd be one of them that if we were to go up, we could either get on loan again for another year or make it permanent. Quick, strong, good passer of the ball. As we've said, both us and Sheffield United's firepower are the only two in the league that really look up there and that good. So it'd be interesting to see us come, face a team that have got, real good attacking players and stuff to see how we cope. Because obviously we got bullied 4-2 at Sheffield United, but going forward, I mean, he scored 2 again the other day, Matson. I think that makes it 4 for the season. So,
and for people who don't know, he's left back, right?
Yeah, left back.
So I mean, I absolutely imagine that if you got a deal permanent for him or he came back on another year's loan, you and I are going to sit here in July and it's going to be, should we get Matson at 4.5? It's going to be it's going to be a real conversation, isn't it? I can already see that.
And he gets forward more than probably the right back. What happens is Cullen will often slot back into sort of the left side and fill in for him whilst he bombs forward. So, yeah, really.
And so Roberts doesn't get us forward as much. No?
He does. I mean, compared to our fullbacks in the past, Roberts is effectively an attacking winger. But Matson more so than probably Roberts or Vitinho.
Roberts is still looking for Wout Weghorst, isn't he?
He actually commented on Matson's post the other day saying, "You're my favourite Dutchman." So whether that was a bit of a dig at Weghorst, but I don't think the two of them get on too well.
If you didn't see it at the end of the season, I think it was the end of the season, Wales played Holland in, I want to say, the Nations League. And at the end of the game, Roberts went up to Weghorst and said, "Why the fuck couldn't you do that for Burnley?"
Yeah.
He could literally lip read him say that. It was magnificent. And is Josh Brownhill playing a more advanced position?
Yeah. So he's, I've always liked him, but I've never really known what his position is because he's not a proper central midfielder, but I don't think he's a like a number 9 behind the striker. But yeah, I mean, now he's sort of sitting further of the two in midfield. I think he's chipped in with 5 goals, 6 assists. So having the best season for us, undoubtedly. He's perfect in this system, really. He's another one that we've not really at the minute got that replacement for. So if he was to be injured, he'd be a big loss. But yeah, having an unbelievable season.
Brilliant. Guys, thank you both so much for that. Really, really enjoyable. Jack, where can everyone follow you on the Bird app, mate?
At Turfy Topper.
And yourself, Tommo?
FPL_Blade.
Top stuff. Jack, where are you going to finish in the leg?
First.
Tommo?
First.
Yeah.
Tommo's already said he wants to finish second.
Yeah, you'd settle for second, mate. I suspect, guys, that unless something changes, I think maybe West Brom and Middlesbrough might be the two to watch if they could put a real run together. Other than that, I expect to be congratulating you both in April, to be honest. And welcome you back to Clash the Correspondents permanently next year. Talking of which, guys, Clash the Correspondents returns next Tuesday with 2 teams or 2 correspondents. They're not part of individual specials next season. It's Everton versus Southampton with Sean Norton and Matt Samuel ahead of a monumentally big clash for the 2 of them in FPL Game Week 20. But till then, just leaves me to say thanks very much again to Jack and to Tommo. Sean should be back with me for the Game Week review tomorrow. Cue music, please, man child.